My story took place about 10 years ago in Tucson, Arizona. My grandson was only 5 months old at the time. He was very sick and was in the hospital with needles and tubes inserted to various parts of his little body. He had been vomiting for days on end, dehydrating. The cause was unknown, but he was getting worse. My daughter and her husband were glued to his bedside, but exhaustion was beginning to set in. That is when I decided to pray. I walked over to the crucifix that my great-grandmother had brought with her from Ireland and prayed. I asked God to please send Jordan an angel and heal him. The next morning, I packed a few things to take with me to the hospital. It was a beautiful sunny July day in 2001. I got to the hospital and sent my son and her daughter-in-law home. The room was so dark and dismal. Even with the curtains open, it didn't seem to allow much light into the room. Suddenly, the door opened, and without anyone turning on the light switch, the room brightened. In walked a small-framed woman, perhaps in her early 50s. What struck me first is how the room lit up. But then, I noticed that she was dressed in clothes from the 1940s. She wore dark glasses, had dark hair swept up in a nice conservative hairstyle, and she had a black dress. She also carried the same type of old-fashioned pocketbook that my grandmother used to carry around. I said, "Hello," and I asked her if she was a doctor. She didn't answer me, but walked right up to the baby, picked him up, and cradled him in her arms. She smiled at him, and then slowly placed him back in his bed. She then rubbed his head and rubbed his belly, and I just watched in silence. She turned to me, smiled, and said, "He'll be fine." She turned around and then walked out the front door. I immediately called my daughter and asked if it was Jordan's doctor. My daughter said that Jordan had a male doctor, but she could call the nurse's desk to ask. The nurse told her that no one went in or out of the room but me, and the baby was released from the hospital the very next day. Did you like the story? Check out our channel for more.